MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Good morning and thank you so much for joining us right here on MBCI TV. The program on board is the Mid-Morning Pack, your weekly show every Wednesday from 10:30 to 12. We want to look at a number of issues pertaining our nation, pertaining the society, topical issues, current affairs, matters affecting you and me, and of course everything in between. It's always a pleasure to have you at a time like this. My name is Mangicho Mola. And as we always do, I have my colleague, Bwana Paul Kagi. Good to see you.
Yes, how are you, Mangicho? Good morning.
Good morning to you, and it's a pleasure to have you again this week on the Mid-Morning Pack.
Thank you so very much, and dear viewer, welcome to this program this fine Wednesday morning. I hope you are doing fine. A day when the schools now are opened after 2 months of extensive holiday, and I believe parents were at home. You have already done that. Your children are in school, and we wish you all the best, and we wish them all the best as they continue with the first academic term for the year 2023. My name is Paul Kagi. Welcome to the Mid-Morning Pack.
And of course, today we've lined up for you 3 major areas that we'll look at in nitty-gritties. We want to look at the subject on handshake politics. Definitely, we've been able to hear this particular term being brought out by politicians across the political divide, occasioned by the return of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to the country. And in the meeting that he had with his supporters at Kamukunji, this particular handshake politics came out very strongly, while the government side is also saying that they are not interested in having a handshake. And of course, even the Prime Minister and his side, they've said that they are not interested. So we want to find out, therefore, what is the solution for us to ease the growing political tension. And of course, later on, we'll be able also to look at Chebukati revelations. We've been hearing some revelations being brought out by Chebukati and the outgoing commission for IEBC. What do these revelations mean for the country and also for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, even as we move to constitute a new commission? And later on, we'll be able to look at matters education. Recently, we had the KCSE results being brought out, but then some people are saying it's like there were issues to do with integrity. Some schools recorded very top grades, and they have been suspect. Were these exams, did they really register integrity, or were there suspect incidences as far as the examinations are concerned? You can be sure to catch us on those 3 topics, and definitely we'll be able to look at them in details. And of course, we'll have a guest who is a political and governance analyst, Bwana Benson Masharia, joining us to help us navigate through these particular areas. But before we go there, Bwana Kagi, the nation is waking up to a very sad news on the passing on of former Minister for Education, Professor George Magoha.
Very correct, and it was a surprise yesterday in the evening when Kenyans learned the demise of this aggressive CS for Education, Professor George Magoha, who died at 71 years. And every Kenyan, when I was trying to check at the social media, every Kenyan was very, 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 very saddened with the report. And he will always be remembered for one thing, that he has been very instrumental in making sure that the education sector in this republic is vibrant, right when he was the Vice Chancellor at a university in Nairobi, and also when he became involved with the Kenya National Examination Council Board, and also as a CS for Education. He has been also in the classrooms and universities, and one of the things that he will be remembered for is the introduction of the CBC, and also his zeal and his dedication to make sure that the CBC is here to stay and it is successful. So it is a sad day for our country, and especially for the academic fraternity.
That's right, Kagi. Professor Magoha will truly be remembered for his contribution as far as CBC is concerned. And I remember when CBC was being introduced, there was a lot of opposition to this particular model of education, but he remained firm. He was on course to ensure that this particular model is successful, and despite the opposition, despite the contrary opinions, he really advised parents and the entire country that this was the best model for this particular nation, even as we continue with matters education. And of course, he will also be remembered for streamlining the examination sector as far as education is concerned. Our country has actually been or it has actually suffered a situation whereby we've seen, or whereby we've been able to see people and of course schools in one way or another being affected by matters to do with cheating in examinations. But when he came on board, he put up a lot of measures, very strict measures, to ensure that cheating is actually curbed in our schools. And I think these are some of the things that Professor Magoha will truly be remembered for.
Yes, and of course, one other thing that we'll remember Magoha for is that he has been very systematic in terms of providing finances for the free public primary and secondary schools. And I can easily remember that there was no time, especially in his reign, that there was difficulties in getting money for the public primary and secondary schools. We really thank him for that. And also, he was very categorical in terms of ensuring that our universities are offering the right courses at this season. There was a time that he really pushed for around 107 degree courses to be scrapped in our universities because they were said to be irrelevant at this time and season in our Republic of Kenya.
Exactly, and I can see quite a number of leaders being led by President William Ruto have eulogized departed Professor George Magoha. In his tweet account, President Ruto has said, "We've lost a gifted, unique, distinguished, and great servant of Kenya. I join Kenyans and the people from other parts of the world in mourning the passing of Professor Magoha. I also send condolences to his family and pray." That is from President William Ruto. Opposition leader Raila Odinga has also eulogized the departed prof, and he has said in his tweet, "I'm deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Professor George Magoha, a transformational leader, illustrious scholar, dedicated public servant, and distinguished medical doctor who left an indelible mark on our country's education system." That is from Raila Odinga. The Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, has said, "Known for his independence of mind and fearlessness, Prof was an accomplished professional who served the Republic of Kenya with the zeal." That is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And someone else who has also paid tribute to Professor George Magoha is Kalonzo Musyoka, the leader for Wiper Party. And in his tribute he says, "The news of the untimely passing of Professor Magoha has left all of us in shock. He epitomized the necessity of focus, hard work, and diligence." Quite a number of leaders here, Kagi, eulogizing the departed prof. He was actually distinguished as far as the education sector is concerned.
Yes, and as I conclude, I would like to point out one thing that was very unique with him. By the time he was exiting the stage yesterday, there was one lesson that I believe many Kenyans will learn from him, that he has been in the university as a lecturer for many years, as a vice chancellor, and he climbed the ladder to become the CS for education. And anybody else who is in this republic will not imagine someone who is in the cadre of being a CS could lower that cadre to become a lecturer in a university. You know, it was a big lesson to us as Kenyans that you can serve in a high office, and also you can exit the high office and come to a lower office and serve with a lot of dedication and a lot of love. So it's a big lesson to us. I think I admired personally his step to be able to move from the CS after the government of Uhuru exited the stage and became I think the Dean of Medical or something in the University of Maseno.
Yes. And of course, we want to wish the entire family of the Magoha God's strength during these very trying and difficult moment. Away from that particular story, of course, is a week whereby we've also seen quite a number of issues happening. So the MPs in Mombasa, we saw them walking away from an induction meeting, and the reason being matters to do with the CDF. They are decrying that they will not yet seen CDF funds being in the account. And of course, they are saying that there is no need for doing that particular induction. There is no need for them being in Mombasa. And I think, Kagi, this thing about the CDF, of course, we know that it's a major, major issue. And of course, we know the importance of CDF, even as far as education is concerned, because so many of our parents are depending on these particular funds to be able actually to do and to make upkeep for their children in school. And I think it's a matter that really needs now to be looked at in a more serious way so that we actually have this particular issue being solved.
Yes, and we call them the lawmakers. They have the powers to make, amend, and even to scrap in a law. It is within their powers according to the Kenyan Constitution. It is not the first time, Mangicho, when the issue of CDF is coming over. We know that in the previous regime, there was that issue whereby the court, and particularly the Supreme Court, declared that the CDF is unconstitutional. But when the regime of Ruto came late last year, one of the things he really pledged is to make sure that the CDF is in place. And the government of Ruto decided to be able to implement the provision of CDF in intervals. And I remember there was the first batch of the CDF money, especially to cater for these bursaries, which was disbursed, I think, the beginning of this year. But the MPs are insisting they want the full amount of money for the CDF kit, which I believe every constituency received around 100, I think, million shillings under CDF. Mm-hmm. And I would like to say this, Mangicho.
Yes.
When MPs want something, they always have their way. If you want to add salaries to their kitty, they will do it with ease.
Right.
I think now they are trying to use a different method to be able to force the government to release the money by sabotaging the operations of the government. And they have sworn by yesterday that away from boycotting this induction meeting, they are going to ensure there are no operations of the government in the House which are going to carry the day.
Okay.
And they are going to make it.
Sure. And of course, one of the things that maybe has also been eliciting a lot of reactions and maybe making quite a number of people in the country also being suspicious of MPs of fight is because of the matters of integrity to do with the CDF. Some people have been claiming that some of these MPs are involved as far as this particular kitty is concerned. And we've had stories of corruption, bribery being involved as far as this particular kitty is concerned. But of course, we want to find out whether we're going to have a lasting solution so that we also have most of the students, most of the pupils, and of course the parents actually being helped as far as this particular issue is concerned. Maybe one more area from your side which we can look into before we bring our guest?
I think one more area which is very key is the issue of, I think, two small areas. The issue of the state trains guns on schools over cartels who sell uniforms. And we are very much aware, at a time like this when we are expecting the junior secondary and also the Form 1s to be able to join the high school, there is a tendency of coming up with a more systematic way of getting the uniforms and also buying the books. And according to the CS Trade, Moses Kuria yesterday, the principals or the institutions have been using this method to be able to siphon money from the parents. And by yesterday, the CS Trade said no school is going to be allowed to direct the parents on where to get the uniforms and also textbooks, right?
Sure.
So the parents will have their freedom to be able to choose where they will buy the school uniforms and also to be able to buy the books, which I think I have seen there before, and I think this issue needs to be managed very well to be able to avoid, because what I was saying yesterday, that uniform, if you go to buy direct, is more cheaper than when you are being directed by the institutions to go and buy somewhere. Yeah.
I think it is quite true that some of these particular institutions, with collaboration with quite a number of cartels across our counties, have extorted most of our parents in relation to the buying of these particular uniforms. And I think this is a move that is going to be welcomed by so many parents across the country. Fair enough, and there's so much on that. Thank you so much. Yes, yes.
You can also mention about the issue of the maize surplus
The maize
in the North Rift.
Yes.
You know, farmers are very much frustrated by the prices of maize.
Yes,
it has dropped.
They've gone down.
Yeah.
And I think the government had warned them that if they keep on holding this particular maize, they will suffer.
You know, the government had announced that by the month of February,
yes,
it is going to import maize to be able to bridge the gap of a lack of maize and unga in the country.
Yes.
You know, by the time they were being maybe requested to sell the maize, it was around 6,000 per 90 kg bag.
Now it has dropped up to around 4,000.
4,500? Yeah. They are very much frustrated. I don't know what they are going to do.
Oh, that's quite a tricky situation for most of our farmers who are actually depending on farming, especially maize farming, for their upkeep and also maybe to be in a position to cater for their needs. So much for that front, our dear viewer. The question that we are asking you today in this particular discussion, do you think political handshake between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga will help in quelling the political duel between the two? Do you think political handshake between President William Ruto and his nemesis Raila Odinga of Azimio will help in quelling the political tension or the political duel between the two? You can give us your feedback on our short code platform, that is 23814, 23814. And also you can catch us live on our social media pages, that is Facebook MBCI TV, and also on YouTube MBCI TV Official. And we'll be glad to sample some of your responses as we continue with our discussion today. And of course, you can expect some vox pops on this particular. We have our reporter, our mid-morning reporter, Vincent Kimtai, who will be able to join us much later with opinions and also some views from locals across our streets, and we'll be able to see what is it that they're saying as far as this particular discussion is concerned. But at this juncture, let us now welcome and invite our guest today to help us go through these particular topics. That is Bwana Benson Macharia, political and governance expert. Karibu sana, Bwana Macharia. It's good to have you.
Asante sana, Mr. Mangicho, for having me in your studios today.
Yes.
It's a privilege always coming to discuss about the development in our country.
Sure.
And also at the same time looking at the various issues facing the people of Kenya.
Exactly, most welcome. And of course, we really expect you to shed shed some light as far as our discussions are concerned today. But of course, before we continue, before we dig into our first topic that is to do with the handshake politics, maybe we also want to give you an opportunity to pay your tribute to departed Professor George Magoha.
Thank you very much. I take this opportunity actually to eulogize a very serious person who has risen through the ranks to be one of the best CS that we had during the last regime.
Yes.
This is a person who has grown through the ladder, and he was quite firm in his actually approaches towards the issues of education. This is a guy who could face issues in real, because initially we had CSs and ministers there before who had no any educational background. Somebody is a farmer, just comes and becomes a CS education, and nothing reformative about the educational sector. But we are very glad that when Magoha came in, he faced the reality about the education, he faced the cartels in the book industry, he faced the institutions which were offering fake degrees even in this country, which are not even beneficial to the people of Kenya. Right. And I think he was very, very categorical in terms of even introducing the CBC. He was very, very firm on it, defending it, and saying this is the right way to go. I know he has been accused of so many things, but we eulogize a man who was ready to face the educational sector, offer his opinion rightly, and we will always miss him, because at the end of the day, that is what we are happy that he has been able to achieve, Professor Magoha.
Thank you so much for that very, very powerful tribute there. And of course, let us get into our first area, Bwana Macharia, handshake politics. And both the two sides are saying that neither of them want handshake with the other. You have Azimio leader Raila Odinga saying that no, he's not interested in handshake politics. We have President Ruto also saying that there is no way his government is going to have handshake with Azimio la Umoja, particularly Raila Odinga. Is it really the matter at hand?
I think the matter at hand, rightly, even as Kenyans after the elections, there are some things that we have not been able to get over it. And these are the issues of accepting the results that were declared by Chebukati, declaring President Ruto as the president of the Kenya, the fifth president. Okay. And these are the contested results, which at the end of the day we are well aware. When they went to the Supreme Court and a declaration was made, Ruto was again, at the end of the day, declared the president. But you see, at the end of the day, as a politician, sometimes you don't get over it, and that is the reality about politics. You don't just say that I've accepted the results, fine, let's move on and all that. You always have a base. You know, you cannot just dismiss Raila Odinga as a person who has no political base. Of course, he had almost 5 million Kenyans who have voted for him, so you cannot just wish him away and say that he's not a leader that you can offer any direction. But at this particular time, the president now is very clear after the declaration that now it is now me who is in charge, and it's now my duty to improve on the lives of Kenyans. That's why you see for the last few months it has been a question of this has not happened, let us revive this, let us do this. But we cannot wish what Raila Odinga and his part in terms of being the leader of opposition in Kenya and raising fundamental issues. Yes.
Because I think, Kagi, most people would be wondering exactly what maybe the former Prime Minister is actually agitating for in terms of maybe the clarion call we've been seeing. And of course there is the issue that of course the election maybe was not fair, there were irregularities. But of course, there are those of the school of thought that what maybe we are seeing is what maybe we saw in 2017. There were these demonstrations, and after these demonstrations, we saw the coming in and the joining hands of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. And when they did that particular handshake, there were no more troubles. Is it a reflection of, or is it a repetition of what we saw in 2017?
Sometimes I can say yes or no, but I think by the way I've understood the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, is that as Mishari has said, we cannot wish him away. He has his own way of keeping the governments on toes. Since, I think, Moi's time, when I started following him, is that he always kept Moi's regime on toes, 24/7. He used the same strategy to keep the Kibaki's regime on toes. Uhuru's government, especially for the first time, he used the same formula to put it on toes. Now he is back in the same formula to put the Ruto's government on toes. But I can see he has really changed the formula this time around. If you look at the three regimes, it was very much vibrant. Sometimes he could use demonstrations, chaos to be able to push his agenda. But this time around, even though he is the same person, he is trying to use a more less vibrant and more diplomatic way to be able to push his agenda. And one of the things I think Ruto is very categorical, they are not going to allow demonstrations in their meetings, which has been experienced there before. But the way I'm seeing, the leader is not ready for demonstrations this time around. He's going to use the meetings to push his agenda, which somehow, although the government seems to be ignoring him, he starts small, but gains momentum along the way. So in another way, he is using the same formula he used 2017 to be able to push his agenda. But as we continue, I would like Mr. Macharia to maybe respond to this about the elections, although that topic is coming, regarding the East African Court. If the president is saying that the elections are over and we should forget, according to the ruling of the Supreme Court, how about if the East African Court rules otherwise? What could happen? Maybe he will answer later during the IBC issue. Yeah,
when you talk about the IBC issue,
yes.
Surely. But Bwana Macharia, because now we are in a situation whereby we have that particular debate that the former Prime Minister, there are those who are accusing him of wanting maybe to come to the government through the back door. But of course, we've also seen him putting it straight that he doesn't have any interest in joining this particular government. But he also said, and he made it very clear the other day, that he does not consider this particular government as legitimate. Now, when you have such a leader, prominent leader in the country, making such very strong remarks, what does it pose for the nation?
I think it gives a certain fundamental question. Number one, you see, it becomes like it's a routine, just like Hagi has said, that you see sometimes there is a way you operate. You dismiss people, even if they are elected, because like right now, when you look at all the candidates who won, they have been dismissed by their opponents as either having rigged here or done this or that. But at some point, they either come, accept, and move on. But you see now for this one, it is always that is the way, because even in 2017, when Raila threatened 2018, when they came in and threatened Uhuru that they will do the mandate tear gas and all that, that's when Uhuru came into the fold. But after that one, the tune changed. Now from our wakora, these wezis, to huyu ni mweupe kama pamba na ni ndugu yangu. And they started working together. These are what we call political interests. They always change at some point. Okay. Even as there are some candidates we believed and we pushed them to be elected. But immediately they got into office, Mangichu, they come and start viewing you differently. They start accusing you being a betrayer. But at the same time, you are spending your resources, you have been there. So what we expect even right now, you can be surprised that Raila Odinga and Ruto, they have been talking. And these politicians, this is the real thing. They talk. Sometimes, you know, we go to hotels, you meet, let me just use as an example. Yes. During Kibaki, when we were at Serena and we were fighting during the Kibaki time, I was at Serena and I was seated in one of the corners and I could see Orengo came and Madhakarua came, they hugged each other, they stayed there, they took a cup of tea, but they told us when they were leaving, tukutane baadaye. Yes. Which means when they go to the political arena, they speak a different language. But when they are together, they are just a bunch of friends, which even right now, you will be surprised. Somebody like Raila Odinga, he's telling them, he's texting Ruto, telling him, leo utaniona kamukunji. Naye anamwambia na wewe utaniona na tear gas. You see, those are, sometimes that's the political game, Mangicho, that we have also to tell Kenyans, so that Kenyans cannot stop personalizing politics. Where you can take politics as being personal, you start saying that, you know, kama Raila atafanya, nitafanya. There's nothing like that one. At the end of the day, it boils down to President Ruto.
Okay, Bwana Washaria, but maybe the question that people will be asking, yes, if is need or if he's pushing to be in the government, if he's pushing for that particular handshake, maybe someone would be asking of what benefit? What is it that maybe he's now lacking when he's outside the government? Or maybe, for example, now when they had that particular handshake with the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, apart from maybe the peace that we saw in the country, how else individually did Raila benefit?
I think for him, there is a position that you maintain when you are a political leader. You don't just, like us, we're in politics. You don't just keep quiet every day. Sometimes you can even attack the governor. Say governor is doing nothing. By that one, you raised, people just know that Macharia is still in existence. Your politics, your constituency, you don't leave them behind and just disappear and just a Raila just to stay in the house and just be eating ugali and omena and saying that me, I lost the leg. No, because a politician must do politics from January to December. Just as you are a journalist, you go to the studio from Monday to maybe Sunday. The same Raila, we expect that he will push. This is his work. You see, when Raila left, and it's a trick. He goes outside, then he comes back with a message that, you know, the whole country was waiting. You know, even me, I was waiting to see, like, maybe you'd say, you know, Mimi, I've gone outside there, nimekuja na bilioni 3, nitapeana basari, hata serikali kipeana shilingi 10 nitapeana. But there was nothing like that. It was just about elections, ilibiwa. So the same cartel of information, the same management, Mangicho, yes, is the same. So what we expect even going further, Raila will keep this government on toes. And President Ruto will also have to show the country that is also in charge. And then when you reach there, what we don't want as a country is a situation whereby we start antagonizing even regions. That's why you see even the president himself, the first visit he's doing to Nyanza region. Because for the longest time, we have always been feeling that these guys are, sisi tuko nje ya serikali. But at this particular time, we want to hear leaders, Mangicho, allow me to say this, saying, we people from Nyakach, why is this road not being done? Yes. That's why you see even MPs from Mount Kenya, they are all talking about coffee, milk, and also tea. So that they start now shaping the conversation from their areas. And that's what now Kenyans are looking at, Bwana Mangicho, because the issue of handshake, there is no tension in the country. People are not fighting. It's just only a creation of a politician that they create in our mind that something is not wrong. We want petrol fixed. We want maize fixed. That is the issue.
But of course, and I think you'll contribute to this when you come from this particular short break, and also Kagi will look at this. There are those who are arguing that this will basically bring in destruction. Let us take that particular short break. We'll come back with plenty more.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Do you desire to attain your divine destiny and serve God's purpose for your life? You can do so by your daily devotionals using inspired materials that has been written prayerfully for the benefit of the body of Christ. Apostle John Kimani William has published the 2023 edition of Nuggets of Destiny. In it, you will find an anchor scripture to guide your path as you spend time with God, a brief sermonette to inspire, teach, encourage, counsel, and rebuke you, suggestion for further reading in line with the message of each day, a prayer bullet to help you pray in the perfect will of God, and a one-year Bible reading plan to guide you through the Bible in 2023. Get your copy today at Kingdom Seekers Fellowship Gift Shop and at Heaven's Gate Prayer Mountain Gift Shop. You can also call 0722 344 360 to place your order today. If you are in Nairobi and its environs, place your order through 0799 573 310. God bless you.
Are you looking for a school that will unlock your son's potential? Look no further. Achievers Boys High School Chuka is the answer for you. We empower the boy child with passion. Located in a cool, serene environment on the windward side of Mount Kenya, near Chuka University. The school is built on strong Christian values, providing a fostering, friendly environment to enable the boy child acquire favorable character and academic excellence. Achievers Boys High School is equipped with modern facilities, spacious classrooms and dormitories, science and computer laboratories. Achievers Boys High School offers building construction, agriculture and foreign languages to equip the learners with practical skills. The school is also run and managed by educational experts, which guarantees that your son's future is secure and in good hands. 2023 Form 1 intake is ongoing. Few vacancies in Form 2 and 3 available. Reach us on 0723 281262 0723 281262. Achievers Boys High School, embracing excellence and honor. Kwenye ulimwengu wa sasa, taaluma za mikono zina umaarufu mwingi. Jiunge na Sensei Institute of Technology, tukupe ujuzi na uzoefu wa kushughulikia ulimwengu. Tunafunza taaluma kama plant operator, plant mechanics, kuendesha gari na trailer, kuweka CCTV na alarm, kuweka solar, kuweka stima, motor vehicle mechanics na electronics, teknolojia ya ujenzi wa mjengo, welding fabrication, ujenzi wa barabara na mabwawa, hospitality na taaluma nyinginezo. Kujiunga nasi unahitaji kitambulisho chako cha kitaifa na uanze safari yako mpya. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back to the program, The Mid-Morning Pack. You're still watching us right here on MBCI TV. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. And we are looking at the handshake of politics. We have a guest that is Bwana Benson Macharia, political and governance expert, trying to help us make sense of what has been happening throughout this particular week. Continue giving us your reflections on our discussion on 23814. Catch us live on our social media pages, that is MBCI TV for Facebook and MBCI TV official, that is on YouTube. Quite a number of feedback coming right here, and we'll be able to sample some of them as we continue. We have our reporter Vincent Kimutai, who was in the streets to give us some of the opinions from Kenyans across the political divide as far as this particular subject is concerned. And I think our director can give us this particular vox pops, then we can be able to continue with our discussion. Let us listen to what the people are saying in the streets.
Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi mkiwa upande wa pili wa studio, na leo niko hapa mtaani kuweza kuzungumza na Wakenya kuhusiana na mkutano wa kiongozi wa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Raila Odinga, mkutano ambao ulifanyika siku ya Jumatatu katika uwanja wa Kamukunji. Ni mkutano ambao umeweza kuzua mjadala hapa nchini, na leo hapa tutaweza kuzungumza na Wakenya wakitoa kauli zao, wakitueleza kulingana nao, je, mkutano hii ambao Raila ameanza kuifanya, je, ina manufaa kwa taifa? Na hapa hivi tutaweza kuzungumza na hao hapa wakaweza kutueleza maoni yao.
Kwa jina naitwa Albert Kitoi, mzaliwa ya Siaya Game constituency. Raila ikiwezekana wafanye kazi pamoja. Kenya hatutaki ni tukose kufanya kazi yetu hii ya jua kali juu ya kukimbia hapa na pale, hiyo tu, lakini wafanye pamoja. Kenya ni yetu sisi wote.
Kwa jina ni Mary Wanjiko Mbogwa, ninafanya kazi sokoni. Mimi ni mtu wa Mwarero na uzaga nyanya. Hii mkutano ya Raila haitusaidii, sababu sasa kuna uchumi na kuna mambo zingine zijakamilisha. Lakini sasa anaanza kusema ati mkutano ati aliibiwa. Kwa nini hakuchukua action siku hiyo ndio ajue aliibiwa namna gani? Sasa hii mambo mkutano haitusaidii, na wachane tufanye kazi. Sasa ni kutusumbua wananchi.
Okay, kwa majina ni Kefa Magenyi. Kulingana na mkutano wa jana wa Kamkunji ambao uliongozwa na kinara wa Azimio Raila Odinga, ikiwa nchi tutazidi kukaa katika siasa kila kuchao, huenda hatuwezi piga hatua mbele. Hiyo ndio maoni yangu. Nadhani kwa sasa hivi tungetulia, tuweze kufanya mambo mengine, na kama ni zile institutions na kama ni wizi kama huo ulifanyika, tuwe na nafasi ya kurekebisha mambo kama hayo.
Kwa majina naitwa Eunice Kwamboka. Mimi ni muuzaji wa nyanya. Sasa mkutano hii ya Raila, mimi ni kwa maoni yangu ningemwambia hivi, tafadhali Raila tu atulie juu saa hii uchumi iko. Sasa hii akianza kufua mambo ya kura na sisi tumesahau, awachane tu tungangane na maisha ya saa hii. Kwa sababu kama angenote kura simeibiwa, angetake reaction on the spot. Awache kusumbua wananchi, atulie tu. Atupe tu amani, tuende tungangane na maisha baida.
Mimi kwa majina naitwa Wilfred Ndigo. Hii mkutano ya Raila, hata kama hii mkutano ya jana, mimi kwa upande wangu nilikuwa naona hivyo ni sawa, bila anafanya hivyo kupinga. Ile kitu yenye tutaki ni fujo. Ilikuwa ni mkutano ya amani, iko sawa.
Ningependa kusema ya kwamba aingie kwa huu upande mwingine, zote tuendelee pamoja na tuweze kujenga taifa letu kwa sababu ya kizazi cha kesho.
Mimi kulingana na mambo ya mkutano ya jana, si alienda koti na koti wakachunguza wakakuta hakukuwa venye alikuwa anasema. Hawache kusumbua mtu afanye kazi, kwa sababu si ni mwaka 5 tu peke yake. Sisi ndio tutaamua. Kama tutarudisha yeye tutaamua, kama tutaona kwamba kuna Kenya amefanya tutamtoa. Sisi ndio tuko na nguvu.
Hayo ni baadhi ya maoni ya Wakenya kuhusiana na mkutano wa kiongozi wa Azimio Raila Odinga katika uwanja wa Kamukunji siku ya Jumatatu. Wengi wakiunga mkono, wengine hawaungi mkono. Nikiripotia MBCI TV kipindi cha Mid Morning Park, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
Wow, that is our reporter Vincent Kimutai on the streets on this particular subject of the handshake politics, and of course drawing mixed reactions there, Kagi. And of course One of the things that is actually coming out very strongly, and later on, Bwana Macharia will actually chip in on that, Bwana Kagi, is a matter of when we have these kind of meetings, of course, he has actually called for another meeting in Jacaranda. Of course, we know there is a freedom of assembly, freedom of association, of speech, but then when we come to look at the issue of distraction, what weight do these particular meetings serve as far as causing distraction of the government's initiatives? What kind of distraction can these particular meetings pose to the government's agenda?
Yes, I think one of the distractions is regarding the issue of creating political temperatures in the republic, whereby when we have some heightened political temperatures in the country, the government, especially the executive, loses the focus. Because when one side of the political divide decides to go on the streets to do some politics, then the sitting government cannot just sit away and watch from a distance. They have also to create their own ways, maybe the president himself with brigades, to go out also to counter what they are saying. So the distractions will be there if the meetings are going to continue. And even the members of the executive have maybe a challenge to be able to counter the opposition. And also we know the president this time around, the way I'm observing him, he wants to concentrate his energy in maybe issues of serving the public. And if the opposition is going to go like this, of course, his concentration is going to be somehow divided, right?
This particular issue. And of course, quite different from maybe 2017, 2013, when some of these assemblies, when some of these meetings were actually punctuated with chaos. This time round, we are seeing meetings being very peaceful. But if we have meetings being called every week, do they pose any danger as far as the government implementing its project is concerned?
Yeah, I can say yes or no. Number one, if I say yes, because you see this tension that is developing across the country, you see that those meetings, there were so many talks which are being said there, and they're charging the nation. Even from Jacaranda, you could see the young people going home. From Kamukunji, you could see the young men traveling home. The way they were saying, oh, Raila pewe heshima, Raila sijui afanye nini. You see those kind of, that they are now creating a tension across the country. This means that even investors will start seeing our country differently. You know, when you have an opposition that is having rallies Monday, Friday, Tuesday, it starts creating tension all over. And even there is somebody who was coming, maybe investment, they will say, hey, let's wait until see what becomes of Kenya. Because you have seen, like in the other European countries, the way things have happened. President wanatolewa asubuhi, they are returned in the evening. At the end of the day, those countries have gone into turmoil, and there's nothing actually substantive going on. So those things are creating those kind of tension. But at the same time, it should tell you something. The difference that you are asking between the other meetings and this one, the other meetings came immediately after elections, where people had a lot of tension and people actually wanted to express something, that, you know, the elections were stolen and something is going on. But on this one, actually people healed somehow and moved on. That's why you see even there was no violence experience in Kenya. I didn't even see people burning vehicles, they are doing that. And you see, because we went to after the elections were disputed, we all went to the courts. We were listening to our lawyers as they present, and they say this. And actually Kenyans could judge for themselves. So by the time the verdict was being given by the Supreme Court, we had already known that actually this thing imeenda. Wanasema na Kiswahili. Imeenda. Which means that people moved on. And that's why, so in terms of tension right now, what I can say is that these meetings should not continue beyond the meetings that they are doing. Because we have freedom of assembly. Myself, I'm a human rights defender, but I cannot advocate that we do politics from Monday to Sunday, raising fundamental issues.
So could the meetings therefore be a strategy to push the government of President William Ruto to give in to the demands of Azimio?
Of course. If they continue the same meetings, and the same meeting continue attracting thousands and millions of people.
And actually, initially, we had leaders who were saying that it's very impossible, maybe even for Kenyans to come out for these meetings. Kenyans have other issues that are of major concern. There is the harsh economic times. Nobody has time maybe to go for these meetings. But this is contrary to what we saw.
People are, let me tell you, if you want to just to make just an example, go to town and start shouting. Oh, I don't know. People, within a very short time, you will see thousands of people milling around you. It tells you what Kenyans are going through. Kenyans are idle, by the way. Many people don't have anything to do. And we are not saying that those who went for Azimio are idlers. But you see, many people are looking at other alternative sources of answers. And that's why if they think Raila will offer that, they will always follow him. If tomorrow he says Tononoka, you find that there are always people who are going to the coast and always, you know, they burn fuel to go and listen to what he has said. Because this politics is now becoming like matches. For Manchester, Arsenal, you see even in Europe, they use millions of money to attend those matches. So even right now, the opposition itself, me I can say, they cannot just relent and go home. But they will still keep the government in check by those kind of meetings and all that. What we are just against is the question of violence on the street to bring other issues.
Maybe Mangicho to ask Mashari.
Yes, Kagi.
Because now it's like the president is not happy with the meetings, and the Raila is much ready to do the meetings. How is he going to tame Raila in terms of creating political temperatures in the country?
I think what there is, all the politicians, after elections, they always expect their losers to go home and relax. But you see, when you find a situation whereby somebody is still coming to ask you, no, this thing didn't go well. You know, even there are emerging issues that will emerge, because even I know we are going to that topic of Chebukati. There are things which were going on that time, but we were not privy to that information. But that information now is coming out. So which means you cannot just dismiss people and tell them people to go home and sleep. You have to allow them express themselves. Of course, the president would wish a situation whereby there is nobody talking. Sisi wote tulirudi kazi and we just clap when they are doing it. No, we can't do that. Even at the governors at the counties, we are coming back at the counties to raise fundamental questions. The governors would wish that akina Macharia, they disappear from the face of the earth, so that what was ulize pesa ilitumika wapi and so on. But we will be there. Once some things go, we cannot just wish Raila away.
What should Ruto do again? Because now Raila is out. What should Ruto now do?
I think
maybe as you answer that question, what would the president lose if he were to do what his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta did?
I think one thing that will happen, Mangichu, we must agree. We cannot be doing that all the time. We lose elections. Because you see, even the handshakes at the national should actually come to the MCAs if we start that route. That all the people who lost in the governorship, they say, okay, we lost, but let us now, sasa we governor, when you're constituting your cabinet, give me this position because I lost this number. We must cultivate a culture in this country whereby if you lose, you go home. You know, like we are trying to encourage people that if you lose elections in the presidency, where maisha yako bado itaendelea and you will never lose. So we will never accept and move on. So we have to bring that, because if Ruto again now start encouraging that, nobody will ever accept elections in this country. Wachana na mambo ya Raila, not just only Raila. Any other person, atutakuwa tukienda, even Wajakoya will say, let us do a handshake. Even with 5,000 votes. We must allow that a country once, because Kenya is ruled by what we call universal suffrage in terms of voting. That's why the majority will have their...
Yeah, and I think that is, I think the president is very much aware of that. That if he doesn't work it well, we are going to have handshake in the next 1 century. Now, I think that is why he's coming up with the office of the official opposition, to be able to look for a way. If number 2 in the country loses the election, he's not in the streets trying to agitate his agenda. He has an office, he has an avenue well catered for to be able to talk to the public, to the government, to the parliament, a structured way of the person who loses elections as number 2 to be able to do things in a more diplomatic and professional way as a politician.
That's why I was saying, my friend, that you know, even in this country, we have politicians that don't raise issues concerning Wanjiko or Atino or Mangichu. What they normally raise are the fundamental issues regarding themselves as leaders. Because like right now, when the president is talking about the official opposition, just like Kagi is saying, we will have a structured way of raising issues. If we have issues in Nyanza, for example, if you have issues at the coast, that for example of land, where we come a kiongozi, what issues are you talking? I want you to hear opposition leaders saying this. That when the president, when you came to Nyanza, you launched this and this road and you say this will not have been done because we never supported you politically. They are nothing like that one of the sort. That's why in the fullness of time, Mangichu, the politics of Kenya will change. That when you come, you start complaining, you ask, Mheshimiwa, please stop talking about Kagi as a person, tell us about his office. That he was given 10 million, but he never dispersed as bursary. Ruto came in, he lied to us that Unga will come from 240 to 120. And those are the questions now they are answering. That is now, we are changing the politics of Kenya. So because if we allow that kind of, if I have other funny things, you give me an opportunity to start raising from Monday to Saturday. No, wewe Kagi tuambie, what is your problem with this government? There is KRA, cases are being dropped, like people are saying. Can you explain to us why certain fuel is not going down? Those are the questions Kenya will want. That's why you see even on the TV, Kenyans are hungry. They are hungry about development. They are hungry about the change in economy. It's not about individuals anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we want to get into our next area of discussion, but let me just read a few comments here. Maina Kibogoyo saying, pamoja sana kwa show, watching all the way from Webuye. We have Robinson Obier also saying, watching live from Tarbo. Thank you so much. Remember the question we are asking you, do you think political handshake between President Ruto and his nemesis, that is Raila Odinga, will help to quell the political duel in the country? That is the question that we are asking you today. And you can continue to give us your feedback today through our various platforms. That is 23814. That is our shortcode platform. And then catch us live on our social media pages. That is MBCI TV. That is for Facebook, and MBCI TV Official. That is also on YouTube. And also we have Manoti saying he's watching, and he's saying he's really thanking Bwana Masharia for your opinions. Bwana Manoti, and also Chairman, that is Sankale Odenasieko, is also saying he's watching live from Nakuru. Thank you so much. Keep the comments coming, and we'll be glad to continue sampling them as we continue. Chebukati revelations. The IBC Commissioner Kagi, in the last few days, we've seen them raising very damning revelations as far as what happened in the 2022 elections is concerned.
Yes. And as we're speaking right now, there are two things that are happening regarding the IEBC. Number one, there is this tribunal that is investigating the issues of the elections with the IEBC. And yesterday, Chebukati was there to give his own observations during elections. And also, there is the issue of where the president yesterday, I think the parliament, given the mandate to be able to appoint the panel, which is going to look at the commissioners of the IEBC. You know, as we're speaking right now, there are no IEBC commissioners.
Yes.
And we must have them in place the shortest time possible. And therefore, the parliament is doing that to be able to create a formula to be able to look for the commissioners, which was not done there before. Maybe we'll look at that later. But let me come to the revelations of the IEBC in terms of the tribunal. And I think the issue of IEBC has become very weighty when it comes to Kenyan elections, from the word go. And I think there is something that we must do as a country to establish a more vibrant, a more professional and transparent election body. Because if you don't do that, every cycle of elections we shall be experiencing some questions regarding the elections body. You know, I was looking back last elections, not the 2022 elections, but the 2017 elections, when the Supreme Court gave its own submissions regarding to reforming IEBC. But I could see there are many things that were never put in place between the 2017 to 2022. And the same issues that were supposed to be done after 2017, they were done in the year 2022. And my question is, if we could not be able to do what we're supposed to do as mandated by the Supreme Court for 5 years, now we are here, and the Supreme Court did not query the IEBC, that last time when you were here, we told you to do A, B, C, D. You have not done it. Tell us why. Because if they let it go, even in the next election, whatever they were being told to do, they are not going to do it because there is no, somehow the commission operates in impunity in regarding to the reforms of the IEBC. And therefore, I feel Mangicho, something must be done seriously, maybe with the help of the monitoring by the parliament, and maybe other institutions can be able to put the election body into responsibility.
Sure. And Bwana even is, Kagi is raising very valid points there, because these revelations, Bwana they're actually damning, and some people and some analysts have actually been saying they are bordering on treason. And putting in mind that the matter of election in this particular country is an emotive issue. And we are hearing that this is what happened. The former chairman saying that he was being compelled, he was being asked, he was being pushed not to announce the results that were supposed to be valid, and maybe to push the then government's agenda. Now, when you hear some of these revelations actually coming out at a time like this, and of course we have the other side of the political divide also saying that we have a whistleblower who has come out and he has said that the results that were announced were not the actual results. They were not correct. What are they? Where are they putting it? Putting us as a country, and what do they mean for this particular very, very critical institution in the country, that is the electoral body?
I think from time immemorial we have a problem when it comes to IBC. Because you remember even when we had the Electoral Commission during Kivuito's time, he declared Kibaki the president at night. And that's why Kibaki was declared, was sworn in without even the public knowing. So to address some of the issues that were done when we were changing the constitution, we talked about the time of swearing in, the place of swearing in must be in public, so that we avoid this issue of boardroom swearing in and other things that we did. The constitution, actually, the task force recommended a lot of reforms that were supposed to be done at IBC. And actually the commission did almost 70%, because that's why you see the declaration of the results at the polling station was done because previously they were being carried with boxes in lorries and they disappear in the forest. By the time they reach the destination, they are tampered with and so on and so forth. That's why we were doing it. Once we complete all the agents check, once we are through with it, it is just scanned and sent at the server, so that anybody could access even that server. That's why even Chebukati, when he was asked who is the winner, he told people go to the server. Why was he referring us there? Because he knew. For example, me, I was at Ronda Outreach polling station. When I looked at my form, when I went online, what we signed there is what I saw it there. Because that shows that there was no way that we could interfere with it going to Nairobi transmission. That's why even at the Supreme Court, no single documentation was shown that this is Kagi, what he signed at Heshima Primary School polling station, and this is what we had at Bomas. Nothing was of the sort was shown. That is why you see, at the end of the day, when these things were being dismissed, the IBC actually said through Chebukati that we had done actually our best. It's only a matter that between us, you cannot control any individual's integrity, because you see agents were there, everything was being done above board, but at the same time, still people say elections were being stolen. So what do we do as a country? The IBC that we are talking now about is also political, let us not forget. Because even Kagi, the way he's talking, when they hear Macharia has been nominated to that IBC, they will start saying Mount Kenya votes again now. You see now, and we will never have people from America to come and manage our election. So we just have to strengthen the processes that are there, Mr. Mangicho, without going to further details, that you know we have to create a platform whereby, you know, if you go and lose, just look at the petitions which are now in parliament, which are now in courts. There is nothing, many people went home because the elections were somehow transparent. Because if you, again, you want to see the trend about the stolen elections, you see a lot of petitions and so on and so forth, and many elections are thrown out. Up to this time, we have not had even a single case. Maybe will come at some point. So what we are saying that Chebukati must have seen that there are some things that needs to be addressed, that maybe he will hand over to the next commission. So that even going forward, we as a civil society, we have been very quiet in terms of talking about reforms in IBC. That is why unaona wanafanya tu mambo yao, they just do their own things. And sometimes when you raise, you are told where you are an azimio. When you talk, you are told you are UDA. Stop talking about that. We want that fairness. We want the process to be very open so that the next IBC haitakuwa ile inaitwa state house inaulizwa what is going on.
Yes, Macharia, maybe Mangicho, one of the things that we can all observe regarding to the issue of IBC, that most of the quarters are raising questions right from the Supreme Court, even up to today, is the issue of technology. And maybe to ask you, Macharia, do you feel that maybe the deployment of our technology in the IEBC systems is 100% correct? And how do we address the issue of technology in IEBC? People are talking about uploading port or something, which you're saying was very systematic. But as the other quarters are raising questions regarding to that technology, how are we going to bridge that gap? That whether you're in this side or that side, you have trust in the technology put in place by the IBC. How can we do that?
I think when we were going to for IBC, there were those we call agents. When IBC, actually what IBC did before we came to election from April, they were calling seminars, and they were calling people from across the political divide. People went there to be trained on monitoring of the technologies that was going to be used by IBC. That is why the trainings that were done, even here in Nakuru, there are some trainings which were done by IBC in terms of monitoring transmission and verification of results, which means that even as a technologist right now, we cannot by any standard say that maybe on the part of UDA, they are the ones who can have the Kenya Kwanza, they can have the opportunity to interfere with the system of IBC. Even sometimes the person who complains, sometimes they have also rigged. And that is why from across the divide, nobody could be able to interfere with the system. That is what Chebukati actually was relying. Because once a result has been sent, sometimes it becomes tamper-proof. But anyway, what we are saying is, Kagi, if people have issues and they have evidence that this thing was interfered with, let us show us how it was done, how it was, because you see those were just stories.
I think, Macharia, to be more clear, whether they are complaining or not, my concern is already there are some issues of issues of maybe accepting the use of technology. For example, on the ground, maybe things were correct. As we are standing today, many issues have been raised within the IEBC executive or the premises of the offices. How do we put our technology in a way, because many questions have been raised, that whether it is this group or that group, we have all confidence in our technology system right at the IEBC office. In a way that, Mangicho, we are not going to feel something was done by the IEBC or nothing. How do we get it right to avoid some questions in our technology, especially in the main office?
Number one, first of all, we must have commissioners that somehow we can trust. Somehow. Let me put it in question. Because Kenyans are fond, they don't trust people. If today Mangicho will be declared as an IBC commissioner, we will start watching you. Where you go to church, what you eat, where you go to social places, and maybe somehow we may start raising questions, because that is the way it is. But Kenyans, we should invest in systems whereby a system can not be just foolproof, whereby somebody can just interfere, so that we have what we call a monitoring process from the word go. That's what we are raising with IBC. We're telling them, you cannot just develop at the one they are talking about, Kamago, situation people are arrested coming to audit. Those are just stories. People should not be hearing about a country like Kenya. We need from the word go, like if we're going for elections, we know that this is the team, and also preparedness for monitors, so that even both sides can have technical persons. I am yet to see one technical person from UDA Kenya Kwanza and one technical person from Azimio who came together and challenged each other on question of technology technicalities. Not good. It is just only as who commoners who have not done maybe those things, who are challenging, and we are being told information. That's what, Mangicho, I want to say. So that we create a system where we shall trust one another. If we don't do that, then there is no need to go to elections. Let's have a monarchy. We declare Mangicho as heir apparent once you finish, and we do that. So that we have those kind of trust in the process.
Mangicho, before you continue, allow me to mention some of the reforms
Okay.
proposed by the IEBC, and particularly the Chapukati and the other two commissions when they were leaving. Number one, they desire to have a timeline on appointment of agents during elections. Number two, the IEBC feels that this body needs to acquire its own headquarters, not to rely on the Bomas of Kenya. Maybe their own premises or something. They also...
That means Bomas is not, but Bomas is very easy maybe to be interfered with?
Yes, they want their own premises to be able to operationalization of the IEBC. The other one is the resolution of the, sorry, before I go there, installation of the CCTV cameras at tallying centers.
Okay.
I think in the headquarters whereby we are doing the National Tallying Center, there should be installation of the CCTV. They're also proposing the resolution of nomination dispute 21 days to polls. If there is any nomination dispute, to be done 21 days before we go to the polls. The other one is integration of voter education in school curriculum. See, you know, today we do voter education independently.
Yes.
But now they want this voter education to be incorporated in our school curriculum.
So that it can be taught to students?
Yes.
They can be able
when
to...
they attain the age of 18, where they qualify to vote, they already know what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
Right? And then the other one is the availability of IEBC fund 2 years before election. You know, we have been having this problem for long, whereby the IEBC has given funds few months to the election. They want it to be done 2 years before the election. And finally, a review of the election laws, maybe 2 years before elections, and also appointment of commissioners 2 years before the elections.
Wow. Quite a number of very solid recommendations there that may actually help. But now the question is, when we're having these revelations now, Bwana Macharia, so what do we do with these revelations? What do we do with the people that have been mentioned?
I think...
are they going to be given an opportunity to defend themselves?
I think that is where now we are going. We are saying, if you will agree to serve in the public court and the arena, you must be ready for scrutiny, Mangichu. If you go to become a commissioner and you know you are a thug, you are a mkora, one day you will face the law. And that is what will happen at the end of the day. Because the work of this tribunal, once they have done recommendations, it is upon now the president maybe to recommend to the investigative organs now to call those people to record statements with a view of charging them with either treason, espionage, or something like, you know, like these elections. Because if these people, for example, interfered and we went to war, you can tell me how many lives we could have lost as a country. But you see, somebody can come to that level. They come and take money. If I'm not saying they were bribed, but you just interfere with the will of the people because of personal interest. You leave Kenyans at the bloodshed. This we want to tell Kenyans going forward. You cannot serve in the public office and you become a thug there and you mismanage and bungle and walk away in Karen and stay with your family. We will come for you. So that even tomorrow, people with integrity will find their way to the commission. We will find somebody say, okay, I don't want to face what the commissioners of the IBC of Chebukati faced. Because these people, even because we are not just accusing people being collected in the street and taking them to court. That's why the tribunal was there. It will give its finding and recommendation. The president will look at them and then recommend to DCI or other people. If you are called as Kagi and you know you never did anything wrong, you will prove yourself right, or you will prove yourself innocent in a court of law. So that tomorrow, any other these wakoras they normally find their way, even political appointees, they will know I will never serve my master. And I think that is where we are going as a country, that the culprits of commissioners must be able to face the law. Nobody since independence has ever faced the law because of bungling election. And that is where now we are going, even with this tribunal. So that Kesho Mangicho, if you know yourself you cannot be able to perform the way it is being, wachana na hiyo kiti, just go somewhere else. But let me comment on what he said. When the IBC was recommending all those issues in terms of appointment of agents, timeline, these are just wakoras. They are done by the political parties. They are the ones who are culprits. They do that even one day, because even right now, during the last election, the political agents were trained 2 days to early nomination. And you see, by the time even some of them never knew already the elections were over. So that at the end of the day, all those things the IBC is saying, they want also to be safe. Headquarters, Havana, sometimes they operate in rented rooms. They are hosted in other areas whereby they can be dismissed at any other point. Even servers which are supposed to serve certain areas cannot be there. So we want to look at IBC. Those now the recommendation they have. I know the president will not relent until some of these recommendations are actually done, even through legislations for purposes of future elections. Because if we don't do that, we will go in circle the same way.
Yeah, and maybe Macharia, we have an issue of the selection of the IEBC commissioners, which now is in process.
Yes.
What is your take regarding to the formula? Do you feel the parliamentary way or through parliament, or the former and popularly known as the IPPG, whereby the parties proposed the commissioners, like it was in 1997, I think so. Yeah. Which one do you feel is more established and more reliable?
I think we want a situation whereby there are no political appointees. Because political appointees are done, for example, you will have 4 from Azimio, 8 from Kenya Kwanza. When they come, to a large extent, they will serve the interest of their political appointees.
Don't you feel Parliament, because parliamentarians are all politicians,
yes,
are also going to use the same formula to select these commissioners?
That is why we have a problem in terms of when they are going to make the advertisements. We are going to look at the qualifications so that people apply and they are shortlisted for interviews and all Kenyans watch. If Kagi is given work to become a commissioner and we know he's not qualified, we will raise issues from day one. That's why we also monitor the process, because these people cannot just come from heaven and fall down here, but they have to be subjected to public scrutiny so that we raise issues. We say, okay, Mangicho is the chairman, but we knew at this particular time he rigged elections in one of the cattle dip elections.
Yes.
So, okay, you understand? So that from day one, we raise so that anybody going there will operate above board. You see, like what to come at when Chebukati was left in the commission, we never imagined at some point they will operate the way they did. We're not saying they were above board, but at the end of the day, the professionalism, or maybe the way they said, my fidelity is to the law, and this is what I'll do, maybe that was exemplary.
And Mangicho have one concern regarding the appointment of commissioners. By the look of things, is that the Kenya Kwanza is very categorical and well planned, the issue of making sure that they control the House. You know, 2 days ago, they were in talks with the Jubilee MPs to be able to woo them in their camp. I don't know, but looking at the short history that we have had by now, since the Kenya Kwanza came into power, especially in the operation of the parliament, is that the government is having its way easily in parliament. No, my concern is it not going to happen the same way when we are appointing commissioners, that the Kenya Kwanza team is a combination of Kenya Kwanza and the opposition in terms of looking for the people to be in the IEBC. But because of the numbers in the parliament, I don't feel Kenya Kwanza is going to have an easy time to be able to get the commissioners they desire.
I think what I have to say here, the truth, is that politics is about interest. Number 2, the majority will always have their way. And that's why, technically, as a politician, you cannot just enter into government without having a plan. That's why you see the first thing the president did when he came, even when he was going around the country, he was trying to get as much MPs to be on his side, so that when he gaps into parliament, you can, because you can never run a country without the help of the parliament. And the parliamentarians are very key in terms of passing legislations and your budget and so on and so forth. So the first business is to have the control of the House. And there's nothing sometimes you can do. You can see it's all over the world. In the UK, everywhere, the Democrats, once they control government. That's why the Kenya Kwanza did that. So what we do here, we cannot say that Parliament may not. In fact, that is the danger we have, Kagi. That once they may have their way in terms of the commissioners that will be still nominated. But what we say as a country is that the same characters we need to question. That's why we are saying the role of the opposition and the official opposition can never be dismissed.
Sure.
And should always, so that even people feel that Kagi has been nominated and is not fit, we can go to court under public interest litigation and stop him. And that's why you see even here at the county, people have gone to court to question certain procedures.
Okay.
But people are just telling them those are busybodies. They are not just busybodies. They are people who are raising fundamental questions. Before a judge sit down and make a declaration that Mangichu is unfit to do ABCD, they have looked at all presented facts. So that is the way we want to go as a country, but we can never remove the fact that there will always be political dominance.
Wow, so much for that. And because we are being pressed for time here, and we want to look at our final area, that is to do with the KCSE results that were announced recently. And of course, they have also raised quite some varied opinions. There are those who are saying these exams were infiltrated with the matters to do with the cheating. There are those who think that the exams were valid. And I know, Kagi, you have some experience in teaching. Maybe you've come across a student maybe who has been performing poorly, but all of a sudden when they do their final examination, they do exemplary well. Maybe we can start from there.
I haven't come across one, but it's a very serious revelation that we have students who have been performing. We have one or two. It is there. But we cannot have a bunch of students who have been performing very poorly, and overnight they perform excellently. You know, even when you check at their track records in school, there's no that history. Also, there are some schools which has been said they have a mid grade of maybe 5. They have the history of a mid grade of 5, but overnight after the results, they have a mid grade of 9. That's where the questions are being raised from.
And of course, this is coming at a time, Bwana Macharia, you can also chip in on that. And of course, we've been seeing, and I think when we are even paying tribute to the fallen Don, Professor George Magoha, is much remembered for actually putting in measures that would really help the country to fight what we call examination cheating, which has actually been a major menace as far as our education sector is concerned. Now, these particular results have raised a lot of questions, and actually this thing has actually even gone to the Senate. I think I've seen an article whereby the Senate is sitting and also trying to look into exactly what is it that maybe could have happened. Are we seeing examinations again being tainted as far as integrity is concerned?
Yes, because we cannot, just like you're saying, we cannot have all of a sudden I was an E performer and all of a sudden I get A. This means that at the end of the day something might be wrong. That's why we are saying also the technology of there is what we call mutation in terms of exams cheating. This time round you caught them, they were cheating on phone, but this time round you find they are cheating on through other means. Now you wonder, what do you do as a country when you want to curb cheating? These teachers, you are seeing them, they are the same exam setters. They will mark exams. So they are not being, I expect a system whereby it will be foolproof by making sure that, for example, there is no teacher, for example, who will see exams. They will be set by a computer, and they will be marked by a computer. Right. But as long as it's Mangichu, as long as it's Kagi, Macharia, we set the exams. And people know I have come from Nairobi to set exams. My friend, I'm telling you. Sometimes they come to people, and that's why you see the schools are cheating. That's why you see that even even when Matiang'i was the minister, cabinet secretary, he was still fighting curbing. Fighting the cheating. Exactly. But you see, every time the people keep mutating. So you may find that even the next exams again, we will again mutate technology-wise. So that at the end of the day, we need something like, that's why the government is trying to come up with a hybrid of recommendation when it comes to issues of education. So that we start maybe ranking. We had actually stopped ranking schools. There was no number one. And people, now what exams are we doing? We don't even know which school is number one, because people are sick. When you're taking your child, when you're taking your son to Alliance High School, and my son is going to St. Xavier High School, you simply know my son will not perform because you are in the Alliance. And that's why we're checking on the big giants. It's still the same people are saying, oh, the giants have fallen. Why? Matiang'i, in fact, was trying to fight the question of ranking,
yeah.
because it was keeping some schools out of competition. Yes. So that if you don't produce, you are not among the top 10, you will start losing students, people will not come to your school. So private schools developed a way of cheating in exams. That's why they will always be ranked. Either they bribe people at the marking exams, or they do other things which sometimes, you know, they are unfair practices when it comes to education. So Mangichu, I think the government should just actually, because even I will ask you, for example, I will ask Kenyans, in whose interests were the results stolen or interfered with? In whose interest? For example, in Nyamira or in other areas, the way you are saying Nyambaria and all that, you would ask yourself, in whose interest? Who could have done that? So we have those kind of questions.
And before we continue, Bwana Macharia, we also have our reporter Vincent Kimutai, who went to the street and also did some interviews on this particular subject. Let's hear what the people on the street are saying as far as this particular area is also concerned.
Naitwa Tabitha Mudhoni, na kwa maoni yangu kama wanafunzi venye walifanya hiyo mtihani ni kumaanisha haikuibiwa, kwa sababu wenye walikuwa wanachukua hiyo markings walimaki kulingana na mtoto venye alikuwa amefanya, kwa hivyo haikuibiwa chochote.
Okay, mimi naitwa Uma. Haya, kama kulikuwa na udanganyifu ama kulikuwa hakuna udanganyifu, hakuna evidence, waachane na hiyo maneno na watu maisha iendelee. Wenye walianguka watafute kitu kingine ya kufanya. Hiyo sio mwisho ya maisha. Hasa kama ukijiua, kuna watu wengi hawajaenda shule, na maisha yao inaendelea, unafanya vitu zingine na maisha yako inaendelea.
Kwa majina naitwa Margaret Wamboi, na kwa maoni yangu inalingana na bidii ya mzazi na mtoto. So chenye alipata ni chenye ulikuwa umemuandaa. So hata kwa wenye walianguka, huo sio mwisho. Ningependa kuambia wajipatie moyo na waendelee na kitu ingine yote, kwa sababu kila mtu kuna chenye amebarikiwa kukifanya. Kwa hivyo usikue ni mwisho.
Kwa majina naitwa Susan. Wacha niseme haikuimbiwa, juu mwenye aliingia ni Mungu alikuwa amemtenga na akatupea.
Mimi naitwa Kefa Magenyi. Ukweli umejidhihirisha kidogo kwamba kulikuwa na udanganyifu wa aina yake. Hakuna vile tunaweza kuwa na transition ya watoto almost 99% katika shule moja ambao wamehitimu katika kiwango kimoja. Kama ni alama ya A, wote wako katika alama ya A. Kwa hivyo inaonekana kuna dosari katika mitihani zetu za kitaifa.
Hayo tu ni baadhi ya maoni ya Wakenya kuhusiana na mtihani ya kitaifa ya kidato cha 4 iliyotolewa siku ya Ijumaa wiki iliyopita. Nikiripotia MBZI TV kipindi cha Mid Morning, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
Yeah, but it seems most of the people that Vincent Kimutai interviewed, they are of the opinion that these students passed these examinations and therefore they should not be blamed for the good grades that they scored.
Yeah, the good thing is that the Senate has taken up the matter. They are investigating all these allegations, and they said if there were some issues raised which can be proved that they were cheating in the examinations, they are going to follow that. Then they are going to let Kenyans know if they are exam teaching. So,
but the question is, and I think also Bwana Macharia, because I mean, how comes during the examination we could not even maybe, is it that it was done in a very smart way, because we didn't hear, because maybe there are times when maybe the cheating is happening, at least you'd hear 1 or 2 cases, or at least incidences. Yeah, but this time around, it's like it's getting us off guard, and we are now looking at this particular matter when the results are out.
Before Macharia responds, I wish to say that it is too unfortunate that all the efforts, all the maybe strategies laid down by Matiang'i and later on the late Magoha, we are putting them in the dust. It's too unfortunate because the current CS could have picked from where Magoha had left, because Magoha picked from where Matiang'i had left. And he has moved in that trend throughout the year. And as we're saying, during the announcement of results, Magoha and Matiang'i could tell us we had some few cases of cheating in this area, in this area, and this area. We have taken action against this teacher, this teacher, this teacher. You could even see there are some people who are taken to court for being involved in malpractice during examinations. And therefore, it will be too unfortunate if Senate's report is going to prove
that
there was
malpractices,
cheating. Away from what we, in fact, if you go and ask some students who were examined during Matiang'i's regime, they know how it was, and they believe and they saw there was no avenue for cheating during examinations. It will be too unfortunate if you go back there, because if we experience teaching in our examinations, it is going to create demoralization to schools which have no avenue of cheating because they are there, right?
And also, Bwana Macharia, as you contribute to that, what again does it portend now for these students once they get to universities, technical and vocational colleges?
I think what we need to do, what I've realized in terms of cheating, is that there are no, I think just like I said previously, then the cheating method is mutating each and every time. So if you knew that Kagi was passing a Mwakenya the way he used to do, now is using other means. A teacher comes and specifically has come from maybe setting the exams, and they don't teach anything else. They just teach around that topic. And they tell you, Mangicho, because there are schools, we have incidences whereby students were saying, we were wondering why the teacher was always on that topic. Because they already have leakage. Those setting exams, they are buying those leakages, even millions of shillings. So it is not something small. And schools, because of purposes of business, some of them, they have invested millions in terms of buying information and in this cheating thing. So we cannot just write what we want, just like Kagi is saying, we want to hear this school was done the ABC because of cheating. That we had these culprits who faced the law. Like we used to see, you see 5 officials of NEC, you find that they leaked exam, and that investigation should reveal. So that we start seeing, we start carrying responsibility. Otherwise now, if you tell my son, for example, your school cheat, like I have a candidate who did, for example, in this grade 6, Cap C. That exam, when itself, when you look at the results which were there, you cannot even understand. But there are some schools which have really passed, and you hear they also cheated. Now you wonder, you ask yourself, who cheated and how were they able to cheat? Let us have that investigation so that we also have people who will carry responsibility. Otherwise, we cannot be stigmatizing our children all the time when they pass that they have cheated. And all the time when they are failed, there is also cheating. You see, like during my time, my daughter was doing KCSE during Matiang'i's time, and I noted, she told me KCSE was changed 3 times. They were given emergency paper. 3 times. So you can imagine those children, there was no room for, you understand? So we want even the CS right now, the CS Machogo, to rise above sugarcoating, to rise and face the reality and the elephant in the room. Let's say we have this happening in our schools. Let's have these are the reforms, in as much as somehow the parents will be uncomfortable. Just like CBC made us, some of us, very uncomfortable. We are doing homeworks.
And actually talking about CBC, could this be the keyword as far as examination cheating is concerned? Because now here we are looking maybe at a pupils or a student's strengths and capabilities, and of course maybe there is it is not very, very possible for them to be subjected in cheating.
In fact, CBC was coming to cure this issue of ranking to some extent, okay? Although I see the results, there were also some rankings which were done, which was against the spirit of CBC.
Of CBC, yeah.
CBC,
the one for grade 6.
Yeah, you say approaching expectation, exceeding expectation, approaching. Those kind of terms, they will just define a child by the strength they have. It is not about what they have done against other children. So that we just have, if we are talking about 100% transition, the reason why we were saying 100% transition, we never wanted children to be discriminated. That these ones, because they got C-, they will not go to the university. Because these ones never obtain 100. That's why you see even in secondary, they are calling children even 99 marks, even 90 marks. We are talking about 100 transition. So that even the children, although that one may discourage our children not to put more effort, because they know either way they will go to secondary, either way they may be chosen in better schools. There is nothing like that. What we wanted is transition. So that ECBC, it can cure that. So that even when you have a child we know that this child will emerge with a particular approach towards their personal life. It is not about the exams, how the grade they will get, the way now we are socializing our children. So that you find our children right now, wanatuuliza, hii tulikuwa tunafanya nini? You cannot explain. You cannot explain. We are running away from those questions because we cannot be able to tell the government that it is just assessing. What is assessment? You understand? Huyu mtoto utampea bidii gani next time to read much harder because they know there is no motivation. So we want a system that will create a whole person, a child that will be accepted at all levels. So that even at the technical level, tukisikia umeenda technical, si lazima sisi wote tuende university. Si lazima sisi to go to polytechnics, but at the same time we have equal opportunities. That is the child we want.
Maybe Kagi, you have a point. Before we get into our last segment, we have prepared for you a leadership profile segment by Nancy Gashoka, that is the Managing Director or Executive Director, Gender Initiative Services. We'll get that particular segment from our director in a short bit.
I think it has been said much by Mr. Masharia regarding what we should do. Maybe it's good to make sure that if there are some people who are involved this time around, they should be brought to book.
Okay.
And we should make sure that we create a system which does not compromise integrity of our exams, so that we can be able to give our students enough confidence in terms of the examinations. And maybe to end before you go there, just to mention that in our systems, we have been having a history of our academic institutions right from independence, even before, which is very interesting. I don't know whether we are still in the journey of transforming our education. Maybe CBC is not the last one. But if you look at the history, Mangicho, we have had several systems. Before we got independence, we had a British system. And after that, we were having examinations being managed by the East African community that time. We had an examination called the East African Certificate of Primary Education, which was called the CPE. Later on, we were having East African Certificate of Education, became Kenya Certificate of Education, KCE. And then we had East African Advanced Certificate of Education, which became Kenya Advanced Certificate of Education, that is KACE, K-A-C-E. And then later on in 1977, you remember there was an issue with the East African community during Kenyatta's time. The EACC collapsed. And when it collapsed, all the examinations under the bracket of EACC could not continue. That is when the government came up with a new system of education called, it had no name, but it was a 7-4-2-3. 7-4-2-3, 7 years in primary, and then 4 years in secondary school, 2 years in high school, 3 years in university. Then from there, Moi came with a new system, 1985, which is commonly known as the 8-4-4. 8 years in primary, 4 years in secondary, and 4 years in university. Later on, we know in 2017, the President Uhuru Kenyatta came up with the now popular, the CBC. That is 2-6-3-3-3.
Quite an evolution there. Let us now get to that particular leadership profile segment for this particular show.
My name is Nancy Gachoka. I am currently the Executive Director of an NGO called Gender Sensitive Initiatives. Gender Sensitive Initiatives is a capacity building NGO where we work with the communities to get them to reach their vision and mission, the CBOs, the women groups, the youth groups. And we have 5 pillars. We are into health promotion, where we capture mental health. We are into education promotion, where we're looking at the adolescent girls achieving their greatest potential. We are into civic engagement, where we want communities to engage with and fight corruption. And we are into resilient livelihood, where we want communities to look at the local resources and utilize them to help themselves out of poverty. I've been a leader in my church. I've been a leader from high school in Christian Union. I've been a leader at the university level. I'm a mother and a wife, and that is leadership par excellence for the last 38 years. I've been a transformative leader as, in this community development arena. I've been a leader at the government level. I've served at the Tobacco Control Board since 2009. I've also served at the national level in a committee looking at national citizen participation in security, otherwise known as Nyumba Kumi. I've been a leader and a trainer and a consultant in community development. I'm enthusiastic about defending the youth of this country in tobacco control arena and against drug and substance abuse. And so I believe a leader should be transformative in the people they are leading. They should lead the people to transform them, just like the former president said that we should transform people. Leadership is not for greed. Leadership is not for our own stomachs, but it is transform the people we lead. A leader should be a mentor, either a peer mentor or mentoring others. A leader should also inspire their followers to follow good examples and good values. A leader should also have many young people who are following their example. And that is my commitment. A leader should therefore be full of integrity so that we can give values to the younger generations. I belong to the generation that went to high school in the 70s, and that was our desire, to transform our villages and to transform the young people that were following us. As a mother and a wife, I desire to be a leader of my own children, other people's children, other people's grandchildren. As a Kenyan woman, I desire that there will be women leaders who will give themselves over to defend young people and defend children and defend coming generations. Defend them from greed, from tobacco, alcohol, and drug and substance abuse, and protect marriages and families. And so I'm a leader in all those arenas, and I like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is our leadership profile segment. And today we are featuring Nancy Geshoka, the Managing or Executive Director, Gender Initiative Services. We're coming to the end of our discussion today. Bwana Benson Masharia, thank you so much for your insights and for shedding light on these very topical and key issues in our society, in our country. We appreciate a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I also appreciate all the platform that you have given as MBCI to be able to reach the country with information. Even as we transform their lives, we can also tell them what is happening in our republic.
Exactly, and thank you so much also, our viewer, for making time to be with us on our discussion and our show for today. My name is Mangi Chomola. I want to wish you a blessed afternoon and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
And my name is Paul Kagi. I want to thank you for being together with us in mid-morning today. I wish you a blessed day ahead.